Welcome. You're watching Beyond the Headline. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Now, the Maha-Vikas Aghadi government in Maharashtra was always on thin ice. Even the harshest critics of the BJP would admit that a government that has the Sena and the Congress both in it didn't quite fit in. But is it those inherent contradictions of ideology and stance of Hindutva that is leading to the political implosion we're seeing today? Or is it just pure and simple mismanagement? Now, for any leader in politics or for that matter in the corporate world, it's crucial to know which way the wind is blowing. It's crucial to know, do you have support or not? Is that the essential fault line we're seeing today? As Uddhav Thackeray scrambles today, the risk for him is greater than just losing the position of chief minister. That's probably why you've seen this dramatic gesture. And you're seeing those pictures on your screen where he's vacated the official chief minister's bungalow. The name is Varsha in Mumbai, and is moving back home to Matoshree, which is the residence of the Thackerays. The biggest risk for him is that he faces the risk of losing control over his party. Eknath Shinde is a senior Sena leader, no doubt, but till yesterday, few political watchers believed he has the might to command the support of nearly two-thirds of Sena MLAs, as he's claiming. Tonight, we will be tracking all the latest developments, telling you who said what, but also trying to go beyond that headline and understand how Uddhav Thackeray lost control over his MLAs. Now, from day one, Uddhav has had to contend with the accusation that the Sena has diluted its Hindutva brand. And the fact is that the party has been trying to position itself as one with wider acceptance. Now, despite a common minimum program, Uddhav has perhaps been unable to explain why the alliance with NCP and Congress works, apart from keeping the BJP out of power. One big grouse seems to be that Aditya Thackeray was being promoted, and this in particular could explain Eknath Shinde's unhappiness. It's actually history repeating itself. Narayan Rane was supposedly upset and left the Shiv Sena because he felt the late Balasaheb Thackeray was promoting his son Uddhav over others. One other allegation, persistently, is that Uddhav did not reach out enough to party members and cadre and was closeted in an ivory tower. He was not a very accessible leader. These are claims that he has countered. And the last but most important, perhaps, is failing to read the writing on the wall. How did anger against him grow to such an extent without Uddhav Thackeray realizing? Was this not an intelligence failure? While all this may be in hindsight, it's still too early to conduct a post-mortem on this government because the story is honestly well and truly developing. So let's first go across to our reporters on the ground. I'm joined by Abhishek, who has been in Guwahati since this morning, tracking what's happening there with the rebel camp, and Ketan, who has been bringing you these live pictures that you're seeing on the screen. Ketan, let me begin with what we've just seen a few minutes ago. What was the message being tried to put across when Uddhav Thackeray has gotten into his official vehicle, evidently packed up all his belongings and moved out of Varsha?
Tamanna, so for the neutral political viewer or someone who's seeing things from the surface, this may look as a defeat or acceptance of defeat. However, someone who knows the Sena well can definitely decipher that this is anything but defeat. What has been Uddhav Thackeray doing since evening? The whole day, be it the press, media, the discussion at the pan stall has been whether he'll get the numbers, whether the rebel camp will escape the anti-defection law, and so on and so forth. What Uddhav Thackeray did was he knows his target group, his target audience very well. It is the common Shiv Sainik, because rebellion is not something new to the party. As you mentioned in your earlier graphics, Narayan Rane has rebelled, Raj Thackeray has rebelled, Chhagan Bhujbal has rebelled, and these were all strong leaders. And yet the party stayed. It's been 10 years since Balasaheb Thackeray passed away. And election after election, Uddhav has proven his mettle. In 2014, they went independently and won 63 MLAs riding on the Modi wave. Not riding on the Modi wave, but independently through Uddhav's leadership. So Uddhav may not be an aggressive mass leader like his father. However, he knows how to speak directly to his Shiv Sainik.
Since you're there, Ketan, just one sec. Since you're there, and there's not everything can be captured by the cameras, but you're seeing it yourself. What was the extent of crowd right now when he is leaving, and what has been the presence of Sena cadre on the ground?
Absolutely. So his residence, which is just behind me, a few feet behind me, it's called Varsha, and it is opposite this picturesque Malabar Hill, and it is opposite this Jinnah House, where the CM's official residence is. He left, and one could see two big suitcases, and with family and supporting leaders in tow, there was this huge entourage of vehicles, and just 300 meters away, he was met by at least a crowd of 250 to 300 Shiv Seniks from the South Mumbai Shakhas. And Shiv Sena, as you know well, is omnipresent in airline unions, in small, in five-star hotel unions. So there are many people whom the Sena has touched through its network of trade unions and its presence in Mumbai. So one could see Shiv Seniks supporting the family, shouting slogans, having hoardings and posters, and saying that we are with you in these tough days. So tomorrow, or in the days to come, whether Shiv Sena goes through this, whether it's splintered into two parts, one thing that Uddhav wants to ensure and knows very well, that whether the Shiv Sena has numbers or doesn't have numbers, it's this cadre which keeps the party going.
Okay, let me quickly go across to Abhishek, who's getting us the other side of the story, because this story is now playing out in Mumbai as well as in Guwahati. Abhishek, Eknath Shinde says, I mean, that number has been growing. This afternoon, he said 46. The latest I heard while coming into the studio was 50 MLAs. What is the final number? How many of them are Shiv Sena? How many of them are independents?
Yes, definitely. As we speak, the number has increased and the confidence of Eknath Shinde is also increasing. And apart from that, more MLAs are expected to join tomorrow also. Because what we are coming to know from the sources, as Uddhav Thackeray left from the Varsha bungalow to his private residence, many of these MLAs are in touch with Eknath Shinde. There are around 10 to 12 MLAs already in Mumbai. They are also in touch. So definitely the number will increase. Till afternoon it was 46. As we spoke to Eknath Shinde exclusively on the phone, he briefed us that around 46 MLAs are with us. And at the same time, as we reported, 4 more came. So they are claiming to be around 50 MLAs, out of which there are more than 35 MLAs of Shiv Sena and rest of them are independent. So definitely there are two factors. Number game is increasing and also the number around 35 to 37, which is required by Eknath Shinde to avoid the anti-defection law, is also coming in his favor. But what is more crucial is after the emotional appeal by the Chief Minister, Eknath Shinde still remains adamant on his stand that no more coalition with MVA, no more alliance with Congress and Shiv Sena. He is firm on his Hindutva stand and want to go along with the BJP. And he was clear enough in the tweet,
Abhishek, is he saying clearly that he wants to back the BJP?
In the last tweet, which he clearly said, and he also spoke over 20 minutes with Uddhav Thackeray, he clearly said, now this is the time we should carry on with BJP and take ahead the ideology of Hindutva along with them. Because in this alliance, the one person who has suffered is the Sena and the Shiv Sainik, and this is the right time, and Maharashtra wants the change, and he has clearly proven by this tweet that he is in no mode to come back to the cadre, and he is continue to rebel and gathering more MLAs to his kitty.
No, he said they should leave the alliance. But my question again was, did he say that he wants to join the BJP? Clearly, but because the BJP has so far been saying they have nothing to do with this. So that's an important point to make. They've been on the sidelines ostensibly, at least on the face of it. All right, Ketan, Abhishek, I thank you. I'll come back to you, but I have all of my speakers lined up. So I'll come back to you for updates for sure, but thank you for that. Vaibhav Purandare, Senior Editor, Times of India, and author of Bal Thackeray and the Rise of the Shiv Sena, joins us on the show. Rohit Chanda, Senior Journalist, also with us on the show. I'm glad to speak with top journalists today who've been tracking politics in Maharashtra for a very, very long time, because I think it's important today that we get perspective on what is happening. Vaibhav, let me come to you first. What Eknath Shinde is essentially challenging is not just Uddhav Thackeray as Chief Minister of the Maha Vikas Aghadi. He is challenging his position as the true Shiv Sainik and the true inheritor of Bal Thackre's political legacy. Can he actually do that? Can there be a Shiv Sena without the Thackreys?
Tamanna, you're absolutely right that Eknath Shinde is questioning the legitimacy of Uddhav Thackeray's leadership of the Shiv Sena. And he is going to the extent of saying that now he represents the leadership of the Shiv Sena and the MLAs who are with him are the real Shiv Sena and not Uddhav Thackray. The clearest example of this and the most unambiguous example of this was Eknath Shinde's first tweet yesterday, where he mentioned Hindutva, where he mentioned Balasaheb Thackeray, and where he spoke about Dharmavir Anand Dige and underlined the saffron credentials of the party. But he left Uddhav completely unmentioned in the tweet, making it very clear that he was not really recognizing him as the true inheritor, even if he has been anointed successor formally by Balasaheb Thackeray. He's not recognizing him as leader of the Shiv Sena. So you are absolutely right that he is positioning himself as the leader of the real Shiv Sena, as against the Thackeray dynasty and the coterie around the Thackeray dynasty, which according to him has considerably harmed the interests of the Shiv Sena by aligning with ideologically incompatible parties like the NCP and the Congress. Now, can he claim to do that? Going by the numbers on his side, his claim seems to be increasingly getting stronger, because last morning we started with 12 MLAs, then it was clear that he had 20 MLAs. His letter itself makes it very clear that he has 30 plus MLAs now, and more people might be going over to his side. And as more and more people shift towards Eknath Shinde's camp, the people who are left in the Uddhav camp will be wondering whether they will be completely left out in the whole process of being a part of the Shiv Sena's future. So Eknath Shinde has played his cards extremely well so far. He has reassured all the MLAs with him and all the Shiv Sena workers and functionaries and the Shiv Sena's core constituency of voters that he is the real Shiv Sena, that he is not leaving the Shiv Sena.
But one minute.
But it's a takeover of the Shiv Sena by him and his supporters.
That's what he's trying to do. That's what he's
absolutely.
That's what he's trying to do.
So that's his positioning.
That's his positioning. What I want to know is, and let me get Rohit in here. What I want to know is that do 35, 36, 37, how many ever MLAs equal the Shiv Sena, which is a cadre-based party? Even if you have support today of 35, 36 of these MLAs, because remember, I prefaced this saying that for Uddhav Thackeray right now, it's not just a fight for the Chief Minister's chair. He's shown that's not his priority. He's literally packed his bags and left Varsha. It's the fight for the party. So where does he stand in this fight?
Are you asking me where Uddhav Thackeray stands?
Yes,
Are you asking me where Uddhav Thackeray stands?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think Uddhav Thackeray allowing the media to be there when bags are being packed, suitcases, I don't know, your correspondent said 2, but I was watching visuals and it looked like 35, 50 suitcases maybe, because the visuals were running endlessly. Allowing media to take those visuals and then him driving away from Varsha in a car that was being showered with flowers and all that is a very, very significant thing today, because this is kind of a signal that he's accepting being a martyr. And he's preparing his cadre that to face the reality that maybe a few weeks from now, Shiv Sena will not be in power in Maharashtra. And of course, as they call the fight, Sangharsh in Marathi, will go on. So today morning, when Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut and Samna editor spoke with media, he said, "Zyada se zyada kya hoga? Hum satta se jayenge." That one bite, and then in the evening, Uddhav Thackeray packing his bags from Varsha is very significant. I think they have started accepting the reality that Eknath Shinde is going to come to Mumbai with 30, 35, 40, whatever the number is, of MLAs, and along with the BJP, support the BJP or be in the house to show that Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray, Shiv Sena and MVA government does not enjoy the majority anymore. Now, the next thing, of course, is I'm coming to your question: how will the cadre react, and how will people react to this? There might be some clashes on the streets, some drama, some optics for the media. Shiv Sena gathering outside, cadres, Shiv Senics gathering outside Matoshree. Maybe protests everywhere in Mumbai. Maybe a call for Mumbai Bandh for one day, or anything can happen. But all that will, finally boil down to the floor test in the House. And the reason, 30, 32, 35 MLAs are siding with Eknath Shinde is because they are trying to sense that in the coming assembly elections, and even before that, the municipal elections and all of that, it is going to be very difficult for them to get into any seat adjustment with the NCP or Congress. They are naturally more comfortable with BJP because the settlements about the constituencies is already in place. This is a very important point. Nobody is speaking about this anywhere. But the last election they fought was in settlement in alliance with the BJP. So the constituency distribution is all set with the BJP. This time, if I'm a Shiv Sena MLA, suppose, and I'm told that your constituency is being given to NCP, what do I do? So I think the biggest thing that is driving them towards Eknath Shinde, supported by BJP, obviously, unofficially, we can say, is the fact that they are insecure about getting the party tickets next time if they stay with Uddhav Thackeray. So that is now with that, if the MLA goes to his constituency, forget about Mumbai city for a minute. It's very important for Shiv Sena, but forget about it for a minute. Let's say in Marathwada, let's say in Vidarbha, let's say in Konkan area. If the MLA goes back to his constituency and convinces his Shiv Senics and Shakha Pramukhs and all of them that, look, this is why I'm doing this. Do you think the protest will continue for too long? I don't think they will. So it's only a matter of time before, this arithmetic falls in place and everybody understands why Eknath Shinde is doing what he's doing. And of course, the BJP is now standing in the wings, not coming on the stage. They will come on the stage very soon, maybe in a few weeks from now, and they will drive the show. I mean, they will be calling the shots. Eknath Shinde might be made Deputy Chief Minister mark my words, in the next government led by Devendra Fadnavis. That is the kind of deal that they're talking about. So if they have 35 MLAs with them, BJP has 106. The deal is almost done. Yeah. I mean, then there is the independents and others.
So then the question is, what are they waiting for and what happens next? I want to welcome Sanjay Hegde into this conversation, who's joining us now. He's senior advocate in the Supreme Court. Sanjay, what is the process now that needs to be followed? Because we've often seen in these power grabs or in attempts to topple over state governments, you have one side claiming support, but at the end of the day, will this go through with a floor test? What is the role the speaker will play? And will Uddhav Thackeray perhaps dissolve his government even before we get to that stage?
See, there are several questions that you've asked. Let me unpack them. The question of dissolving the assembly is a decision that the chief minister or the prime minister, in the case of the center, has as a perpetual sword to enforce discipline. If he has not lost his majority on the floor of the House, his advice to the governor to dissolve the assembly is normally binding and in normal circumstances accepted. You must remember that President Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy dissolved the Parliament of India when asked to do so by Prime Minister Charan Singh, and Charan Singh had not even faced the Lok Sabha or sought its majority at any point of time. That is one part of it. However, if before such advice is tendered, if there is a floor test, if the governor were to ask for if the chief minister to convene a floor test, and the chief minister either does not agree or he convenes a floor test and loses the floor test, then obviously his advice would not be binding on the government. Then I heard the Ms. Suryavanshi say that there could be certain movements, etc., on the street, the Shiv Senics possibly indulging in protests and things like that. If there is a determination at any point of time that there is a breakdown of constitutional machinery, and that is something of a much higher order than mere breakdown of law and order. If the governor so determines and then says that let's have president's rule, keep the assembly in suspended animation, that is one way where time is allowed to bring about a new consensus. These are the 2 or 3 ways that the game can go on, but ultimately everything has to be decided in Bombay on the floor of the Legislative Assembly, and they cannot be decided from Gujarat or Guwahati.
Vaibhav, what Uddhav Thackeray said in his Facebook address, he said that I am ready to step down, I'm ready to resign, and he's sort of playing that out as well with this sojourn from Varsha to Matoshree. But he said, I will do so provided all of these MLAs or any one of these MLAs come and tell me on my face. So now, having said that, what's the message he's trying to send there? And will they eventually have to come to Mumbai and face that test?
Well, Uddhav Thackeray has tried to make an emotional appeal to the Shiv Sena as a whole in order to retain control of the Shiv Sena party, which seems to be slipping away from the Thackeray family and the coterie around the Thackeray family. The symbolism is significant because the whole march from Varsha to Matoshree suggests that there is a mobilization of Shiv Senics in order to create an atmosphere which will result in some sort of sympathy for Uddhav Thackeray, who positions himself as a martyr, and also lead to some kind of galvanizing of the party cadre. So that is obviously the intention. As far as his appeal to the MLAs to come face to face and tell him that he should quit is concerned, there is this very curious thing about the appeal. He says that, okay, tell me on my face that I should quit. Now, one of the principal complaints against Uddhav Thackeray and his leadership as chief minister has been a lack of accessibility. So the MLAs have been saying that he does not meet them, and they have no one to listen to their grievances, and they have people around the family who have been dictating terms to them. Now, this is obviously this appeal of Uddhav Thackeray obviously comes in the wake of these complaints of inaccessibility. That okay, firstly I'm approachable, I'm yours. That's what he's trying to tell them. And if you tell me I'm dedicating myself completely to the party, which is why along with that, he made another significant statement that I'll be happy if a Shiv Sainik becomes chief minister, but you tell me on my face. This again is another attempt to keep control of the Shiv Sena party organization, which is very critical for Uddhav Thackeray in view of the approaching BMC elections. Because if he loses his grip on the party organization as a whole, getting out of government is one thing. A party can get out of government and then bounce back. But if the Thackeray family loses control of the party, then it's going to be an uphill battle to get that control back. And the way Eknath Shinde seems to be gaining control of more and more MLAs and support of more and more MLAs, it might become an even more uphill struggle for Uddhav in the days to come. Which is why this attempt to mobilize Sainiks and to appeal to Sainiks that I am approachable, you take over, but you tell me, and all this overall attempt to show that I am Bala Sahib's son. Again, the claim that I am the real successor and this is our party. So this is an outreach. But the question is, has this outreach come a little late? That is what we'll have to really see, because there has been a lot of mismanagement of not only the MVA alliance, but also of the Shiv Sena party as a whole. There was serious discomfort within the Shiv Sena about an alliance with the NCP and the Congress, and the manner in which that alliance was progressing.
But Vaibhav, that discomfort,
there were complaints
we have
about
to put
allocation of funds.
I think we should just put this in perspective, because this discomfort, all of the worries that Mr. Shinde has, he's been in this government, all of this has been going on for 2.5 years. They've, gone through COVID pandemic, they've gone through several attempts to break up the party. This is not the first one.
Yeah.
What is different this time round? What has really done the trick?
Yeah.
I think we have to ask that question today, because it's not like all of these complaints are overnight.
No, I would say that this is different, and I'll cite the reasons for that. One is when Chhagan Bhujbal left the Sena in December 1991, he took 17 MLAs along with him. So the total was 18, including Bhujbal. The Sena was significantly not in power at that point in time. If the numbers that are going around now are any indication, this is an even more than that of Chhagan Bhujbal, who was more of a political heavyweight than Eknath Shinde is currently. But Eknath Shinde seems to be having a greater impact on the party organization at the moment than Bhujbal did in the past, in 1991, 1992. That is one point. The second point to be noted here is that this rebellion, this major rebellion, has taken place in the post-Balasaheb Thackeray era. Now, Balasaheb Thackeray, as the founder of the Shiv Sena, had the personality, the charisma, and the credibility to win over and win back disgruntled elements of the Shiv Sena. Now, whether Uddhav Thackeray can win back the support of those who have been alienated is something we'll have to see. And it's not going to be easy. It's an uphill task, which is why all the symbolism of this yatra from Varsha to Matoshree is happening.
Yeah, we've been showing live pictures as well. Live pictures coming in right now.
The third major reason, this is different is that the Shiv Sena is in power, and half the people there who are in Guwahati at the moment are enjoying a lot of perks, including ministers who are holed up there. So for them to have rebelled when they are enjoying the perks of power in this manner makes it a qualitatively very different rebellion at this point in time. So in various respects, it is very different, and this comes as a combination of alleged mismanagement, of the alleged dominance of the NCP in this current arrangement, and of the ideological incompatibility of the alliance.
But then I come back to the same question, Rohit. Ideological compatibility is not a new problem. This government was given a few months to survive. Okay, since Sanjay Hegde is putting his hand up, let me quickly go to him and then come back to you, Rohit. Yes. Let me complete the question, but Sanjay, I know you have a lot to say. Let me complete the question. So the ideological differences are not new. Again, I come to it. Why would sitting ministers want to give up possibly their position and move to a situation where the future is uncertain? Some of these ministers don't know if they'll become ministers again, even if it's a BJP plus Shinde Sena combined.
Please keep Maharashtra aside. These kind of problems have occurred all over India. And I know from experience in Karnataka. Ultimately, you see, as the number of months goes down to the next election, the value of the incumbency also goes down. So often there is a tendency to trade in the future. That is enough money so that even if you lose the next elections, or if you do not get a seat for the next elections, you are at least financially secure. That is the normal thing that happens all over India. Keep Maharashtra outside this. The point I wanted to make was, we've heard so much about the Hindutva ideology. There is another factor which people are not talking about, and that is about Maratha pride or Maharashtra's pride. Maharashtra traditionally has not listened to the Delhi Darbar. Maharashtra broke away and Gujarat had to be kept separate. So Maharashtra can't be ruled from, it can't be seen as being doing the bidding of Gujarat or of the Delhi Darbar. And if the BJP plays an overwhelming central role that way, then whoever goes with the BJP might face a backlash from Marathi Asmita as well. And you must remember that the Shiv Sena has been a party of that. So it's not as if the ideological break is only one way. Ideological incompatibility is the other way as well, because the BJP has, or rather Mr. Uddhav Thackeray and his complaint about the BJP is that they had come in as a junior partner during the times of Mr. Pramod Mahajan, along with Bala Saheb Thackeray. Thereafter, now they've taken over the entire show. So the Shiv Sena is fighting a battle for its survival, and one of the panelists said it right. The real crucial question is the elections to the Bombay Municipal Corporation.
Live visuals from Matoshree. We're in the middle of this late evening drama right now, and you're seeing the crowds swell at what is definitely the center, the epicenter of the Thackerays' power. It is Matoshree, resides in Matoshree, and the crowds are growing there as they await the arrival of Uddhav Thackeray from Varsha, from the residence there. We'll try and get you live updates from the location as well. But meanwhile, Rohit, let me...
Tamanna, just one quick line.
Yeah.
The quick line is this, that irrespective of what happens, a substantial remote control of Maharashtra politics will always exist at Matoshree.
Well, we don't know what happens after this evening. And is that remote control at Matoshree or at Silver Oaks? Rohit, I'm coming to you with that question. What is Mr. Pawar going to do now? Is there any firefighting left to do? Are there going to be mute bystanders to all of this? Because they've been saying so far that it is the Sena's internal issue. There have been a series of meetings and a whole host of speculation of what was said in that meeting, many conspiracy theories. But in your view, what could be the next move?
I think the NCP has decided to kind of take the backseat right now and wait and watch how the situation develops. Of course, behind the curtains, they might be negotiating some things with some people, etc. But I think they have, by and large, accepted that perhaps they may have to sit in the opposition and they will wait for the next opportunity, to bounce back. I think one thing they are making very clear is that after the meeting between Mr. Kamal Nath and Sharad Pawar in the afternoon today, around midday, I think, they have kind of agreed that they will stay with Uddhav Thackeray. There is no doubt about the fact that they will back Uddhav Thackeray and whatever 20-25 MLAs might be there with Uddhav, and they will do the maneuvering in the state assembly. I think most of the things were covered by Vaibhav very well. I mean, I agree with most of the things that he said, because that's how the game is going to pan out now. The interesting part, of course, is the technicalities in the assembly, because NCP holds the deputy speaker's position right now. Mr. Jhirwal is in charge there. There is no speaker elected last couple of years. So now the game will be in the assembly, and of course Raj Bhavan and assembly will be the the court where the play court, I mean, where the ball will bounce from one side to another side, and we will see what would happen. But the bottom line, obviously, Tamanna, I feel yesterday we had a conversation on your show. From there to today, I'm fairly certain now that Eknath Shinde has enough number of MLAs, which I was not sure yesterday when we spoke. And I think Uddhav Thackeray is on his way out for sure from Maharashtra government. That is for sure. Tamanna.
Okay, I'm seeing these dramatic pictures, and we should cut to them full frame actually. Dramatic pictures coming in from Matoshree right now. Let's just get that ambience up also for a second, just to give you a sense of what's happening in the heart of Mumbai, in the Bandra suburb of Mumbai, where the Thackerays reside. It's a homecoming, but surely not a victorious one at this point. His car has come in, his vehicle has come in, and there are crowds just mobbing that vehicle. It's barely able to move an inch. You can see Mumbai police personnel trying to move people off the front of the car. They're almost climbing over. as he's coming in. This is an attempt at a show of strength, but it's not going to be an easy one because some breaking news coming in at this point, and I'm going to get Shivani on this in just a minute. 6 more MLAs of the Shiv Sena are expected in Surat tonight. All right, more on the Maharashtra pot boiler. 6 more MLAs of the Shiv Sena expected in Surat by tonight. 7 rooms have been booked in a hotel. One of them is Mangesh Kudalkar, who has reached. Another one has crossed the Gujarat border, and 4 more have started from Mumbai. We're also learning that 2 private jets have been booked at a Surat airport, perhaps to ferry these MLAs to Guwahati, which is right now the core of the entire rebellion against Uddhav Thackeray. As those numbers stack up, and we need to get that final count of how many are there with Eknath Shinde, but it's not looking good. So you have all of this support coming in from the cadre. A lot of people there have gathered to show their support to the Thackerays, but the people who've been elected, the MLAs, are right now fleeing at a great speed. Rohit, I'm coming back to you on this one. That's just bad news piling up for Uddhav Thackeray. What is the way of, really rectifying this situation? Will he have to sooner or later resign?
It's more than clear that he will have to resign, but I think he will wait for, Devendra Fadnavis to go to the governor and claim some kind of stake. Stake claim, sorry. There is, there is too much of resentment about Uddhav and Aditya, the way they were functioning last few months post-COVID period. During the COVID period, the perception management was very good because most people, most citizens across Maharashtra stayed home. They were watching TV, and Uddhav made a very good attempt of, coming on TV, creating a perception that he's like a member of your family and taking care of everything, etc. Mumbai Municipal Corporation worked very well with their COVID centers, and likewise in Pune and Nagpur and other places. A lot of credit was given to Uddhav for that, but things have passed. I mean, this is a new phase where MLAs now feel that the state council poll results, especially, clearly indicate that there is rebellion within MLAs. Same with the Rajya Sabha election that happened a little earlier. And if you have to park your MLAs in a 5-star hotel to ensure that they will not defect, they will not cross vote, which is what Uddhav Thackeray himself said in his speech today. It is really shameful. I mean, you are in power. You should be in communication with them.
I think we should speak for a minute on what all of this has said about MLAs, especially in the state of Maharashtra. But before that, I finally have Shivani on the phone line, my colleague who's reporting on the 6 more Sena MLAs who seem to have rebelled. Shivani, what are the details that we have?
As you were also rightly pointing out that there are 7 rooms, those have been booked in the hotel, and what we are getting to know, 1 MLA has already reached in that particular hotel, 1 more has already crossed the Gujarat border, 4 more are already en route to Surat, and they are all traveling through the roadways. And interesting, moment comes the time they are not moving through flights. Reason being, they can be caught in front of media in Mumbai especially. That is why this hidden timing has been chosen by all of this. For the one we can say those are planning this particular multi-city movements, that all of these MLAs will be traveling at night, that too from 4-wheeler cars, and they will be reaching out in Surat late in the night, and from there they will be simultaneously moving to Guwahati, where they will be going and showcasing their support to Eknath Shinde. And simultaneously, this clearly proves that the number which was given by Eknath Shinde with regards to 40 MLAs being in his own...
Shivani, what's the total count now? Because this afternoon, Mr. Shinde said 46. So what's the total count now?
Well, here it seems that the count has reached to 42 because 36 were already there. 32 belong to Shiv Sena solely, 4 belong to the independent cadre, and of course now when 6 more are getting added to it, 42 seems a very clear number. But yes, of course, this number are likely to move and increase even more because Eknath Shinde clearly said that there are more people, those are going to join him, and those are not just 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So clearly showcases that the emotional speech that was given by CM Uddhav Thackeray in the evening hours today, that has also not put in enough effect on Shiv Senics, on those MLAs. Those have already made their mind to go on the way of Eknath Shinde now.
So, I just wanted to come to the panel for a second on the behavior of the MLAs. Rohit Chanda a few minutes ago talked about how Uddhav Thackeray was unable to control his MLAs. Sanjay Hegde, overall, these are elected representatives at the end of the day. They're being ferried from state to state, from hotel to hotel, or they're being hidden and deposited in hotels like, some trinkets or something which is very precious and has to be saved from the eyes of the world. These are independent politicians, public servants who have a mind of their own. Why are they so easily influenced one way or the other?
Well, power is the ultimate influencer, no? I was earlier on some other channel where I said I'd like to see the movements, whether there are people who are moving towards Guwahati or people moving away from Guwahati. What it does appear to be, and I'm just going by momentum, pure momentum. The momentum currently appears to be against Mr. Thackeray. The reason that MLAs, later batches of MLAs start defecting is that they are afraid that they will not be eligible for the goodies which are currently on offer on the other side for defecting. They may not see enough of an assurance by just sticking on to the side that is losing. 2.5 years later, when elections are held, whether they will get a seat from this side or what promises to are made to them, they may much rather go for what is immediately available. So that's where this momentum game is very interesting. Now, what do you speak about these MLAs who have been elected by so many of us? Well, the fact of the matter is that elections do cost money, and that once somebody has stood for an election, won it after expending a whole host of money, there has to be some return on that investment, isn't it?
So there's 50% left to go. By that theory, there's 50% of the term left. Obviously, there's a bigger pot of the gold at the end of the other rainbow.
But on this side, it doesn't look like they have the numbers or the strength to stand up against the center and the rebels.
Okay.
So if the other side is, if the BJP side is winning, by all means, we have a saying in Kannada which is called "Gedda Yattina Bala." That is, whichever is the winning horse, you take care, you hold up its tail and say that I bet on it.
All right. So the winning horse doesn't seem to be the one heading towards Matoshree right now. We're seeing the live visuals coming in from there, dramatic pictures as the Thackerays make it home. Will they be back in Varsha? Seems to be the big question at this point. I'll take a very short break, but when we come back, we get